In the 13th century, deep in the borders of the West, the course of history was completely altered. A history where the Mongolian armies, war elephants, and fearsome horsemen started what would become a historical war drenched in fear and bloodshed. Driven by insatiable hunger for conquest, the Mongols invaded Europe with a level of fiercity and annihilation the world had never seen. Towns and cities crumbled before them, their inhabitants slaughtered or enslaved. This battle, they believed, would solidify their supremacy and define the fate of the world. But beware, because this is a fictional story, grounded in reality, and is based on real events and people. Nevertheless, here's a possible version of what could have happened. Through the mountains and deserts, the beasts of burden traveled to Europe with one purpose: to conquer new territories and extend their influence beyond Asia. At that time, the Mongol Empire became the largest contiguous land empire in the world. At its peak, the empire covered lands in Asia, extending far as Ukraine. Now the warring horse-bound nomads of the Golden Steppe had united under their lord. The Mongol riders now answered to the man Temujin, the great Genghis Khan. Under his command, the Mongol Empire expanded through a series of brutal, victorious campaigns across Asia, eventually reaching Eastern Europe. Their devastating onslaughts earned them the dark reputation as the Devil's Horsemen. During the 13th century, central and northern Russia was a patchwork of city-states and independent priesthoods, vulnerable to the relentless onslaught of Mongol armies. Despite resistance, cities like Ryazan definitely held out, only to face relentless siege towards the end of the year. The Mongols swept through other Russian strongholds, such as Vladimir Suzdal, Pereyaslavl, and Chernihiv, leaving a trail of devastation. By 1238, Moscow and Torzhok fell under Mongol control, marking the beginning of a systemic conquest. Turning southwards, the Mongols dominated the vast steppe lands of southeastern Europe and Serbia. Returning to Russia in 1239, they defeated the Cumans and seized Kiev, the southern Rus capital, in December of 1240. Their campaigns were marked by trademark destruction, decimating populations and city structures alike. This final attack sealed the fate of the Rus territories, compelling local princes to either flee or to submit to Mongol rule and taxation. Thus began the era of Mongol dominance over Eastern and Central Europe. After dominating Kiev, the Mongol Empire pressed onward, spreading terror across Eastern and Central Europe. One wing of their forces marched northwest, laying siege to Poland and sweeping through Bohemia and Moravia before descending upon Hungary. Meanwhile, news reached the Mongols of an alliance gathering under Henry the Pious, preparing to confront the invaders. While employing their ruthless tactics, the Mongols inflicted a devastating defeat upon Henry and his forces near Legnica as they take over Eastern Europe. April 9, 1241. Henry's demise marked a pivotal moment in the brutal campaign of the Battle of Legnica. This battle not only stood as a crucial turning point, but also marked the Mongol movement into Europe. Opting not to press deeper into central Germany, the Mongols moved southward, merging their forces with those already operating in Hungary. Following their victory at Legnica, the Mongols continued their relentless attack through the neighboring world of Poland. As Mongol forces laid siege to the Moravian Silesian region, King Wenceslaus I of Bohemia strategically retreated to gather reinforcements, positioning his troops in the rugged Bohemian mountains. This defensive stance denied the Mongols the advance of their famed cavalry tactics, protecting Bohemia as one of the few European kingdoms to withstand the Mongol attack during their relentless invasion. Despite their ruthless advance, they failed to capture Esztergom, the pivotal capital and economic hub of the Kingdom of Hungary. As a result, the Hungarian rulers relocated their capital to Budapest. Although the Mongols achieved dominance over Hungary, they struggled to occupy cities like Fehérvár, Veszprém, and Nagyvárad. However, a tragic event soon led to a change of plans, one that would make the Mongols to cease fire and retreat from the mission. Years later, Genghis Khan died and the Mongol armies retreated from the devastated Hungarian kingdom in the spring of 1242. Though they withdrew early, this was not the end of their invasion in Europe. However, Europe was left haunted by the terrifying question, how do we defend against the horsemen of the Great Khan if they ever returned? And now, Hungary had endured a year of brutal occupation. The Polish duchies lay in ruins, and Mongol forces had ventured into the eastern parts of the Holy Roman Empire and Austria. Early in 1242, the Mongols also slashed through the Balkans, with one force nearing Constantinople, then under the Latin Empire's rule. During this retreat from Hungary, the Mongols ruthlessly destroyed anything that had survived the initial assault, even sending more troops into Galicia Volhynia. Instead of returning to Mongolia, they settled on the Volga steppes. However, they never left into the distant mists, but remained ominously close, ready to strike again. This time the situation in Europe was critical. Meanwhile, an attempt at an anti-Mongol crusade in 1241 under the emperor's son Conrad had collapsed into civil war in Germany. Despite optimistic suggestions from the man named Holy Roman Empire Frederick II, there would be no united front among European monarchs in the immediate aftermath of the Mongol invasion. For those on the front line of a possible Mongol return, such as the King Bela of Hungary, this was very bad news. The power of Europe had largely offered no real support during the Mongol attack, and it was clear no assistance would be forthcoming for further preparations. Now, when the King of Hungary returned to his kingdom in the fall of 1242, he wasted no time in preparing for the future. He held no misconceptions that the Mongols would not return to complete their mission, as threatening letters demanded his submission became a regular occurrence throughout his reign. Determined to prepare his army, Bela made strategic moves to fortify Hungary against the inevitable Mongol takeover. One of his initial actions was to bring the Cumans back to his kingdom. These Turkic nomads had previously sought refuge in Hungary, only to abandon Bela after the murder of their leader. To bring them back, Bela offered land and marriage alliances, while they were settled in a section of the Great Hungarian Plain, which the Mongols had depopulated. Bela hoped that these now settled Cumans would serve as the first line of defense should the Mongols return. For the remainder of the 13th century, Cuman horse archers became a crucial component of the Hungarian army. Many of Hungary's population had been driven to the westmost parts of the kingdom, near the Austrian border, or north into what is now Slovakia. So Bela ordered and encouraged the nobility to build more fortifications, particularly in stone and in rugged, hard-to-access locations. These fortifications, some of which had survived the initial Mongol assault, reflected the ongoing trends in European castle construction and were crucial for the kingdom's defense against the looming threat of the Mongols' return. With the death of the last Duke of Austria in 1246, King Bela saw an opportunity to expand his kingdom westward. He launched an unsuccessful war against his Bohemian neighbor over those lands. Despite his failure, Bela pursued other strategies to strengthen his position. He established a lot of marriage alliances with Polish dukes, the Duke of Bavaria and the Princess of Galicia Volhynia, the Rus princess who had fled to Hungary. In his effort to create an understanding between Hungary and the Mongol Empire, Bela encouraged the ruler of Galicia Volhynia to declare independence from the Mongols as King of Ruthenia. Concurrently, he sought aid from the Pope and the Holy Roman Empire, presenting himself as the front-line defender in Christendom. As Bela fortified his kingdom against the looming Mongol threat, Europe remained in a state of anxiety, haunted by the fear of the relentless Mongol attack. However, this was only the beginning. 2 centuries before the Mongol invasion, the Hungarian army's tactics were similar to those of the Mongols. But by the 13th century, the Hungarians had abandoned these methods, and the Khans, who still used light cavalry tactics, had left Hungary. This tactic involves using hit-and-run attacks along with fast armored soldiers mounted on horses. When the Mongolian defense leader Batu Khan attacked, Hungary's main strength was in heavy knights, ill-prepared with outdated tactics and lacking effective commanders. The knights fought as individuals rather than a cohesive army. At the end of March 1241, the Hungarian army moved to confront Batu Khan's invading forces. The terrain, with its tributaries, forest, and meadows, favored nomadic tactics and was bad for heavy cavalry tactics. One night, the Mongols struck, annihilating Bela's 60,000-strong army by the Sejo River and Muhi. After the crushing defeat, King Bela fled to Pozsony with the relentless Mongols in pursuit. They waited only to reveal in their conquest, but the Mongols occupied the vast Hungarian grounds while advancing towards Austria. However, news of the ruling Khan's death reached Batu Khan, forcing him to retreat to Asia to fight for the throne, ending the immediate Mongol devastation in Hungary and sparing Western Europe. On the other hand, sustaining a large army far from their home base presented massive logistical challenges. The Mongol supply lines were stretched thin, and maintaining an army in dangerous territory for an extended period was getting difficult. While the Mongols may have reassessed their strategic goals, the grounds of Europe with fortifications and castles posed a greater challenge. They may have decided to focus on consolidating their gains rather than pushing further into unknown and potentially more difficult territories. But after ravaging the countryside, the Mongols failed to capture the fortified cities. These strongholds were subsequently reinforced, playing a crucial role in Hungary's future. Today, Hungary lays in ruins, with half its population annihilated. The looming threat of another Mongol invasion unified the nation and made King Bela IV to bolster Hungary's defenses, resulting in the construction of 44 new stone castles over the next decade. But for Europe as a whole, the invasion of the Mongols was a harsh awakening, marking the end of unchecked expansion and the beginning of a defensive struggle. The loss of hundreds of skilled soldiers left scars that would forever remain in the rich history of Europe. However, the story of the near destruction of Europe at the hands of the Mongols was only whispered for centuries. At a twist worthy of the darkest tales, this terrifying account is close to the actual reality. The Mongol invasion of Europe, while devastating in parts, did not unfold in such a devastating way. The real event saw the Mongols inflicting severe damage on Hungary and parts of Poland, but their campaign was stopped not by a desperate battle or a last-minute alliance, but by the death of the great Khan Ogedei, which forced Batu and his generals to return to Mongolia. The real history shows the Mongols did not advance further into Western Europe, partly due to logistical challenges and internal political dynamics. Nevertheless, Europe was indeed left in a state of panic and disarray, but it was spared the full impact of the Mongol wrath. What do you think about the Mongols? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Also, do well to drop a like and subscribe to this channel. Thanks for watching.